constitutional. And I truly believe that this is causing our founders to roll in their grave. I don't believe that any of our founders would or ever had that notion of governance in their minds during the creation of our country. That they felt that any law that was passed should be, number one, from a federal standpoint, should be limited in scope, that government itself should be limited in scope, and that the laws should certainly mirror what was written in the Constitution.
Now, I believe that's the way they saw it. I don't think they really, they did warn us what would happen. You know, the Thomas Jefferson quote about, you know, if you ever allow a private bank to issue your money, your children will grow up homeless because the corporations and the banks that spring up around them will take it over. And isn't that what's happening here? I mean, what do you see that's happening here? What happened to our republic? Did we become a communist country with the foundation of the central bank? Where did the problems start here? I mean, we were the supposedly the light of freedom. We were the young, strong country. Have we just been infiltrated and taken over by these people for the world government?
Yeah, I think that you know, when you think of Ronald Reagan and that period during the 1980s, he was very concerned about an external threat of communism in our country. I kind of think of it more in terms of you know, the old high school experiment where you have the pot of water on the stove top and you throw the frog in and you bring up the heat slowly. And the frog doesn't know he's being boiled to death. And I think that as liberty is lost, it's basically lost like that. That it's little tiny chipping away. I mean, if you take a small ice pick in your hand and go up to a glacier, it's going to take you a while, but eventually you're going to be able to chip that glacier down to a snowball. The same way we lose our liberty over time when little laws are created and we just don't realize that they're impeding upon our liberty.
Okay, I've got something here happening here, and okay, all right, go ahead. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Here, I've lost something here. What have we lost here? Okay, all right, we're off of the air on that one. Go ahead.
Yeah, for example, you know, I truly believe that many of our representatives are well-intentioned, but if they don't have a firm understanding of our Constitution, their laws are not going to be constitutional. And when they take a knee-jerk reaction and then try to pass a law based upon a knee-jerk reaction or an immediate problem that they're dealing with, I'm not sure that they really consider the long-term effects. So, for example, when we came through our Great Depression, FDR and Congress, they saw a huge problem. They saw problems with the banking system. They saw problems with our monetary system, and their knee-jerk reactions were done probably with the best intentions. Maybe not. Maybe there were some backroom shenanigans going on, but I think overall they were trying to fix some problems, but they might not have really considered the long-term implications of their fixes. And so whenever we're talking about passing a law, especially at the federal level, we need to consider not only whether it's going to address the problem that we're currently dealing with, so what will be the long-term consequences for the nation and for the liberty of the people.
We're subjected quite a bit to what I call Hegelian dialectic.
Yeah, not all that familiar with that.
Now, in your book, what is your three-step plan for restoring constitutional government? I mean, it doesn't seem like we can do it through the legislature because they're still writing their own checks. They're working for the banks. They're still floating the money out there. They're giving it away. Isn't this just bank robbery?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's more than that. yeah, when you elect somebody and send them to Washington, you're putting your faith and hope in them. In a republic, it's our representatives that are doing the people's bidding, and if they're meeting in back rooms with lobbyists, with officials from either from organized unions or officials from corporations, and they're selling out some piece of the American pie in exchange for a favor, and that could be campaign contributions, it could be a job after they leave Congress, you name it. That's goodness. I think that's treason. When you sell out the American people for some kind of monetary gain, and it certainly flies in the face of what our founders showed through their own personal examples of service to the nation, as well as what they wrote. So, goodness, how do we change all this? And you asked the question about the three-step plan.
Yes.
My basic feeling is that a lot of what's going on in Washington, a lot of the corruption, is because the American people have sat back, they've had their TV remote sitting in their hand, they've been more concerned about baseball scores or what's on American Idol than taking an active role in their government. The three-step plan is basically trying to get people to put down that remote control and get involved. And the first step is to educate themselves. They need to get copies of the Constitution, our founding documents, the amendments, the Declaration of Independence. They need to read these documents and understand them. Recently, President Obama, who used to teach constitutional law in college, in the university system, he was quoting our Declaration of Independence, and he left out the word creator, that our rights were endowed by our creator. And many commentators feel that it was an intentional act on his part to leave that out. And certainly, coming from an academic background, he should know what our Constitution or our Declaration actually says. Well, for anyone sitting in the audience listening, if they don't understand what the Constitution says, they might miss it. They might not understand that somebody has just edited one of our founding documents. So the first step is to educate themselves. People need to understand why our nation was founded, why our founders selected the laws and chose to write our founding documents the way they did, why they set up our government the way they did. The second step is to become active as an individual. This means writing letters to your local newspaper, writing letters to your congressman, to your representatives, and making your voice heard. Letting them know when they do something good, letting them know when they do something bad. Becoming that squeaky wheel that gets the grease. The third step is to become active, but to become active as a group. For example, the Tea Party movement, the 9/12 movement, other pro-constitutional movements, to get involved in a group with like-minded goals to, once again, as a group, you have a lot more power than you do as an individual. So if you have a group of 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 and you go to your representatives and say, hey, we don't like the way you're doing this, we don't like the way you're doing that, you have a lot more power, a lot more clout. Also, as a group, you can start doing things like passing propositions at the local level to try to rein in your local government. So basically, a key important aspect of the way our government has gone astray is the people have been silent. They haven't taken an active role. Thomas Jefferson talked about that if you wanted to defend liberty, you had to be vigilant. In other words, you had to be constantly on your guard to make sure you weren't losing your liberty.
You know, I've referred to myself as the canary in the coal mine because I've done exactly what you suggest over the last 20 years. After I saw what happened at Waco, I was sitting back on my boat out in the middle of the Gulf Stream, you know, and fishing. And I swore I couldn't sit back and watch something like Waco happen again without trying to do something. But
absolutely.
and I came to the conclusions that I came to was that our press was